When I hear you guys describing Israel's enemies, what you're actually doing is projection. You're describing Israel. Attacking all of their neighbors, killing civilians, an aggressive military empire interested in acquisition and wiping out their enemies.
All right.
You know who said from the river to the sea? Benjamin Netanyahu. Who's actually doing from the river to the sea? Benjamin Netanyahu. Who started all the wars? Benjamin Netanyahu. Get out, America, get out of this war. This has nothing to do with us. These guys work for Israel.
In this video, Cenk Uygur stuns this panel as he completely torches pro-Israel war propaganda on Piers Morgan. And things get heated really fast when Cenk just completely flips the script on the usual pro-Israel talking points. You've got the panel pushing this usual fear-mongering about Iran, trying to guilt the US into yet another endless war, and Cenk's just not having it. Like, instead of playing defense, he just goes full offense on them, calling out the hypocrisy, the civilian death toll, and the way Israel just keeps dragging America into conflicts that have nothing to do with us. And what's wild is that he doesn't just clap back, he just shuts the whole table down. So make sure to watch till the end to see how Cenk Uygur stuns this panel as he completely torches pro-Israel war propaganda on Piers Morgan.
We can't allow Iran to get a nuclear weapon. The idea that the counterfactual is staying out and allowing potentially a nuclear strike to occur would be catastrophic. I think we need to face up to that truth.
All right, Cenk, I mean, you were shaking your head throughout all that. I don't understand why you feel comfortable being such a defender of Iran.
I'm not. No. You see, that's total propaganda. Okay, so let's break it down one by one. Okay, so number one, when I see the Israeli ambassador earlier, he sounds like Baghdad Bob to me. Like Iran is the aggressor. No, Israel is clearly the aggressor. We all saw them start the war. Second of all, they say, oh my God, we're so worried about civilians. Israel always kills more civilians than their opponents, and by an order of magnitude. For example, Hamas, terrible. They killed 36 kids on October 7th. Awful, right? Israel has killed 500 times as many kids. So this guy, pretending to be an Iranian expert, is telling us about how much he's concerned about women. Israel has killed 20,000 women in Gaza. How about their rights? How about the rights of to those women to stay alive? How about all the civilians they're murdering in Iran?
Why are you avoiding criticizing?
So when I see you guys,
yeah, but Cenk, why are you criticizing?
No, I'm not avoiding it at all. I'm not avoiding it at all.
But
Let me explain.
Let
me explain. Okay.
Why are you ducking saying criticism of Iran?
It's a simple question.
I'm not ducking it at all. You ready?
Yeah.
You ready? It's simple. I don't like the Iranian regime at all. Okay. I'm an atheist now. They would kill me first. I got no interest in the Iranian regime. But the Israeli regime would also murder me. So I want you guys to be fair and balanced. So don't tell me that the Iranian regime is super dangerous to its neighbors while Israel actually attacks all of its neighbors, including Iran. So tell me about how dangerous the Israeli terrorist regime is as it attacks civilians again and again and again, except that you say, well, Muslim lives don't really matter. That's why you guys don't count the Muslim civilians that Israel murders on a regular basis. So look, if we think the Iranian regime is bad, and it is, it's just like Saddam's regime was bad. Hold on, Ben, let me finish. So the North Korean regime is terrible. The Chinese regime runs concentration camps for Uyghur Turks. Those Turks are my people. The Russians invaded Ukraine. These are all terrible regimes. That doesn't mean we have to start a war with them.
All right, let Ben respond.
And it doesn't mean that America has to fight Israel's war for it.
Well, America isn't fighting it at the moment.
We're not
fighting at the moment, America...
Fight your own wars.
But America is
not $1, not one truth.
Okay, so this is like where Piers and Ben is just trying to corner Cenk into defending Iran just so they can, you know, paint him as some kind of radical or Iran apologist. But it just immediately blows up on their faces. Cenk doesn't even flinch. He just turns it around and hits them with facts they do not want to deal with. And like, when he brings up the sheer scale of civilian casualties caused by Israel compared to Hamas, that just stops their whole little narrative. Saying Hamas took out 36 kids is horrible. But then Cenk drops the real numbers. Israel killed 500 times more. And suddenly the "we care about civilians" line just starts sounding paper thin. Then Piers starts in with the usual dodge, "Why don't you criticize Iran?" Which is just so tired. Like, Cenk immediately says he opposes the Iranian regime, but he straight up says that the Israeli regime is so dangerous to critics and journalists that if he even set foot there, they'd probably kill him. He couldn't be any clearer. Israel isn't some innocent bystander here. They've attacked almost all their neighbors, including Iran, and they've done it while getting billions in US support. And Ben just kind of panics and repeats himself like, what would they kill you for? Which is just weirdly desperate. Cenk just absolutely body bags them with a point about Muslim lives being devalued in the conversation. And it's so obvious that they have no real counter here. Just circular logic and talking points about Iran. Like, they want the US to keep backing war after war, but the second someone says, hey, how about not funding mass death with our tax dollars, suddenly that's controversial?
America is not involved in this war at the moment. Ben Ferguson.
Yeah, it's amazing he just said that Israel would kill him. I asked him 7, 8 times.
That's not true,
What
Piers.
would they murder you for? What would they murder you for? And I said over and over again, you said that Israel would murder you.
They murder journalists more than any other country.
What? So
they
you're telling me
murdered
right
more
now-
journalists than World War I, World War II,
Hold on,
Vietnam,
let me
and
be clear.
Afghanistan
Let me be clear.
combined.
Let me be clear.
They
You're not
murdered
answering the
more
question.
journalists than
You
all other
said-
conflicts in the world combined. They
I'm
murdered
asking you
Muslim
a
Americans,
question. You
12 of
brought it
them,
up.
and America does not
Wait, so
defend
you're
American
telling me that
citizens
right now you
in the
are a
occupied
target of Israel,
territories.
that
All right,
they're gonna
let him
Israel
speak.
murders Americans all
Cenk,
the
let
time,
Ben
and
have
America
his
never
say.
defends us.
This is the problem. When you say things that are this egregious, everyone watching around the world is going to look at this
It's
and
a
say,
fact.
this guy is an idiot because you didn't
Look it
answer the
up.
question. You said that Israel
No,
would murder
Grok,
you right now.
ChatGPT,
I said,
look it up.
what would
Israel
they
has
murder
murdered
you
more
for?
journalists than
What?
all
No, I'm
other
not talking about-
conflicts in
no,
the world
I'm
combined.
asking you personally. You said they would murder you now. I'm not going to let up on this. What would they murder you for? You're telling me
Yeah,
right now that you think Israel wants to
absolutely.
find you and kill you right now where you are?
No. If I go to Israel, you
you're
said
full of crap.
go to
Okay,
Israel.
got it.
If I go to Israel,
Okay.
Israel would almost certainly murder. IDF already wrote my name on a bomb. It's not like they're hiding it. And they murder journalists more than any other country. In fact, all the other countries combined. That's a literal fact. And they murder Muslim Americans, 12 of them. And they didn't object under Biden. We don't object under Trump because you
This
can
coming
murder
from the
American
guy
citizens
earlier that
only if you're
refused to admit
Israel.
that Israel was
the
attacked.
terrorist state of Israel is allowed to kill Americans. And what do we have to do? We have to give them another $311 billion. We have to start another war for them like Iraq and spend $2 trillion. Why do the
Piers-
American people owe Israel hundreds
Let
of
me say
billions
this.
of dollars? Why do we
I
owe
saw
them more
hostage-
wars?
Piers.
All right,
Why
let
do we
Ben
owe
respond.
them dead
Piers,
American
I
soldiers?
saw-
We
Let Ben
don't
respond,
owe them
Cenk.
anything.
Don't talk
They
over each
owe
other.
us. Give
All
me
right.
the $300 billion back.
Let
Give me the
Ben-
$300
let
billion
Ben
back.
respond.
You owe us. I don't owe you. And Ben, you're supposed to be an American, not an Israeli. Look at me and Jack. Me and
am an
Jack don't
American.
agree on anything else. But we agree that we should serve America. I say Americans first, not Israelis. Stop the wars.
Let me say this.
Look at MAGA.
Okay, here's what I'll
Tucker
say.
Ben
Carlson,
speak,
Marjorie
Jack.
Taylor
Number one.
Greene, Steve
All right.
Bannon, all
Cenk,
states
time out.
stop the war.
All
We didn't
right.
ask for war.
Ben, let
We
him-
didn't- Here's
let-
the
let
left
Ben
and the right
speak.
uniting, saying we don't want war.
Cenk, let
I'm gonna
Ben speak.
respond. Number one, my foreign policy has changed drastically from after 9/11. I don't think we should go into Iraq. Afghanistan, if I could have a redo, I would change what I thought about that. I've said that very clearly for years
This is
now
your
on
redo.
TV. But no, I said I've changed my foreign policy. When you make mistakes and you see what happens, it's okay to change. It's called growing up. All right. You learn from your mistakes. I'm not in favor of invading
Good
America into Iran. So let me say that first so you put words in my mouth. Second thing, I've seen 2 hostage videos today. One from the guy that's in Iran right now and you. And I don't know why you act like there's a country that is running terrorism in the Middle East, Iran, who's chanting death to Israel. By the way, death to America. They chant death to America too, okay? And why you act like they're not a threat to the Middle East and to American interests over there.
They're not
That's
a
why
threat to
Donald
us.
Trump said yesterday.
Jack,
That's
do you
why
think
Donald
they're a
Trump said
threat to
yesterday,
us?
if you come after, yes, I do. I do think Iran's a threat to us because they helped kill American soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan. They trained the damn terrorists.
No, I
that
asked
killed
Jack. I
people
asked
that
an
I
American.
know personally. I know people that died serving their country in Iraq and Afghanistan. I just went to Fort Bragg and went to where the 82nd,
Yeah, because you sent
where
them
their
to die
names
on
are
behalf of Israel.
on a plaque.
So this right here just completely exposes the gaslighting. Ben Ferguson tries so hard to twist Cenk's statement into something paranoid or irrational, like he just keeps demanding to know exactly what Israel would kill Cenk for. And Cenk just lays it out clearly. They've killed more journalists than every major war combined, including world wars, and have murdered American citizens, many of them Muslim, with zero pushback from our government. He's not saying Mossad is hunting him in New York. He's saying if he went to Israel and criticized the regime, he wouldn't be safe. And honestly, that's not even an exaggeration at this point. Ben's response though, everyone's going to think you're an idiot. Like, that's literally all he has. Not facts, not counters, just insult and deflection. And then Cenk goes in. Why are we sending $311 billion and US soldiers to back a government that can kill Americans without consequences? He's furious, and rightfully so, because this whole thing just exposes how little American lives actually matter once Israel's interests are involved. And it's brutal when he calls out Ben directly. You're supposed to be an American, not an Israeli. Then Ben shifts to, well, I've changed since Iraq, like, cool story. But it means nothing when he's still defending the same foreign policy mindset. He tries to paint Iran as this existential threat that invokes Fort Bragg and plaques like he's performing for a GOP town hall. But Cenk doesn't let that emotional appeal override the actual point here. Those American lives were lost fighting wars that had nothing to do with defending America. They were just fought to satisfy hawkish interests tied to Israel's regional goals.
All
I'm
right.
not screwing around with this. Do not
Yeah,
tell me
you
that
sent
Iran
them to
did
die
not help
on
kill
behalf of Israel.
Americans.
Ben, I had these debates with you on the Iraq War. I had these debates with you on the Iraq War. You were 100% wrong then. You're 100% wrong now. You sent American kids to
You
die
just said
there on
Iran
behalf
is
of
not a
Israel
threat to
then,
the United States
and you
of
want to send
America. You're
American kids to
insane if
die
you
on
think
behalf of
that's true.
Israel.
Let me
now.
bring in. All right.
Jack, I disagree
let me bring
with you
in
on
Jack,
everything
please.
else. But
Let me
as
bring
an
in Jack.
American,
Jack.
speak up here.
Let me bring in Jack. Jack, final word to you.
Well, certainly they're a threat, but in the sense that they're a threat because the United States is currently sending the USS Nimitz aircraft carrier from the Asia Pacific, from Westpac over to the Middle East. So, by the way, this is the first time that China now has more aircraft carriers in the Pacific than the United States. The first time that's ever happened. Now you're going to have those 5,000 sailors on that aircraft carrier, plus the other 5,000 that are on the Carl Vinson, potentially sitting within range of everything that Iran has. This is exactly what I've been talking about. So the threat to American lives is, and I think it's right there. I think it's what you're saying. It's because America is getting involved in a war that's not ours.
Can I ask a question of Jack and Cenk, just quickly? You say it's a war that isn't yours. If you were convinced, let me ask you a hypothetical, that Iran was close to getting
You
a
guys
nuclear...
always do these hypotheticals.
If Iran was close to getting a nuclear weapon,
what is?
as the UN inspectors say, let me ask you a direct question. Do you then think, if America was the only country that had the capability to degrade and destroy Iran's nuclear capacity, would it then be in American interest to intervene?
So should America go around and blow
North
up all the
Korea,
nuclear sites that aren't American? Should we attack China? Should we attack Russia? Should we attack France? Should we attack the UK? All of them? Is that your contention?
So
Israel?
you would
Anyone who has a
Should we
nuke?
attack Israel?
okay, so
They have
it's a
nukes.
consistent position. You would permit, you think it's in America's interests
No, you asked me a
to
hypothetical.
to
No,
permit
see, now you're
Iran
playing
to
this
get a
game.
nuclear...
You're trying to Kafka trap me right now.
No, we didn't
You're trying
say
to
that.
Kafka trap me, and you're trying to say, well, if you agreed to this hypothetical that I asked you, then you must also. No, I'm not playing that game. I'm not playing that game right now. You're saying in a hypothetical situation, should America attack someone? To your point, they do not have weaponized nuclear capability or uranium that is at the point of weaponization at 90%, which they could use for an atomic bomb. They do not have that. They have 60%. So you're saying even if they had 90%, which by the way doesn't sit with the DNI Gabbard's assessment and the entire assessment of the intelligence agencies that Iran is not currently developing weapons of mass destruction. They're only enriching uranium. So you're saying, oh, well, that's totally fine. You've never even asked me what I think. You're trying to play this game where you
Really,
put words in my mouth that I
I've been
haven't
asking
said. I'm not
myself.
playing that game.
I'm not trying to play any game. I've been asking myself the question a lot over the last few days.
So wrapping this up, this debate just showed every lazy talking point that just gets recycled whenever the US just starts eyeing another war. Cenk didn't just push back, he exposed how the same fear-based narrative are always used to justify pouring more American lives and tax dollars into conflict that has nothing to do with us. And while Ben tries to dodge accountability for Iraq, Cenk reminded him, and everyone watching, that being wrong back then cost real people their lives. And when the conversation turned into hypotheticals about Iran's nuclear program, it was obvious that none of them could answer without twisting logic or dodging direct facts. They just want to keep playing these what-if games to justify war, while Cenk kept it grounded. Unless there's a real immediate threat to America, we shouldn't be shipping off people to die for someone else's agenda. Because in the end, this wasn't even a serious conversation about national security. It was just another distraction tactic, hoping to make endless war sound like a reasonable policy because of other people's delusional biases. And speaking of biases, are you getting tired of getting news from biased news sources? One outlet says one thing and another says the complete opposite? How are you supposed to know what's actually true? That's where ground news comes in. It lets you compare how different media outlets, whether it's left, right, or center, are covering the same story. So you can see the full picture instead of just the echo chamber. And here's the best part. Click the link in the description and get a 40% off the Vantage tier, which gives you even deeper insights in media bias and political trends. So stay informed, think for yourself, and check out ground news in the description down below.